What is the one secret powerful enough to detonate a 1,000-year-old monarchy from the inside out? Not betrayal, not scandal, not even abdication. A fake pregnancy. And right now, that chilling possibility is crawling through the marble halls of Buckingham Palace like a whisper that refuses to die.
London say Buckingham Palace has uncovered the truth about...
Date different belly sizes. No, it's not the angle the photo is taken. There's no way that any angle could change that size of belly.
The question isn't just explosive, it's radioactive. For years, the world laughed off the rumors. Fake bumps, altered timelines, conspiracy threads dissecting every inch of Meghan's silhouette. It sounded unhinged, obsessive, cruel. But then something happened. A document surfaced, a financial trail, a payment. And suddenly, the whispers didn't sound so insane anymore. Because buried inside newly released forensic data was a transaction, $500,000, wired on May 1st, 2019. The sender, an account linked to Meghan Markle. The destination, a discreet high-end fertility clinic near the Mexican border, a facility known not for standard childbirth, but for elite reproductive arrangements and airtight confidentiality. 5 days later, on May 6, 2019, the world was told Meghan had gone into labor and delivered Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. Coincidence or choreography? That precision is not poetic, it's surgical, because this wasn't a routine prenatal checkup. This wasn't a hospital invoice for an epidural and a private suite. This was a $500,000 comprehensive medical package executed days before a royal birth announcement. And that's when palace insiders allegedly stopped rolling their eyes and started opening files. For over a year, the internet dissected Meghan's pregnancy like a forensic lab.
Sanitizing. I am dealing with facts as simple as that. And there is no doubt that something tremendously odd and a very disturbing.
Bump shapes changing overnight. Heels in the third trimester. Squatting effortlessly while heavily pregnant. Time-stamped discrepancies in photos. Endless debates. Endless theories. But theories don't shake thrones. Evidence does. And just when the public's attention drifted elsewhere to Epstein files, elite secrets, shadowy power networks.
I want to ask the audience here, much more important question. Meghan there, is that a real baby bump or has she strapped it on? Because she's got form for strapping on baby bumps.
A single ledger entry dragged the Sussex pregnancy saga back into the spotlight. Because in the world of forensic accounting, there are no coincidences. There are only patterns, and patterns don't lie. The payment wasn't gossip. It was code, a line item in a sprawling financial network. And according to the transcript, it wasn't uncovered by tabloids, bloggers, or conspiracy forums. It was flagged internally by palace cryptologists tracking anomalies in cross-border financial flows. And here's where it gets darker. To this day, there is no signed confirmation of Archie's birth from the royal medical team. That document, standard protocol for royal births, is conspicuously absent. No signatures, no formal medical endorsement displayed to the public. Why? Why break centuries of procedure for this birth and this birth alone? Then there's the introduction photo at Windsor Castle, that glowing cinematic reveal. The lighting so pristine it felt staged. The positioning symbolic. The composition deliberate. It didn't feel spontaneous, it felt produced. Individually, none of this proves fraud. Collectively, it sketches a pattern. And then came the birth certificate. Nearly a month after Archie's arrival, Buckingham Palace filed an amendment. Meghan's name, Rachel Meghan, was scrubbed, replaced with Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Why erase the personal name of the mother? The explanation offered? Palace protocol, not Meghan's request. But here's the problem. Precedent exists. On the birth certificates of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton remains listed by her personal name. No forced title swap, no retroactive scrubbing. So why the selective enforcement? Was it bureaucracy or was it necessity? Because if Rachel Meghan as biological mother required medical verification and that verification was complicated, then a royal title might provide a cleaner, less traceable designation. That's not proof. That's motive logic. And it doesn't stop there. The birth narrative shifted. Initially, there were were claims of a private natural birth at Frogmore Cottage. Later, it was confirmed the birth occurred at Portland Hospital, a standard traceable facility. Why the initial misdirection? Then came the public grievance. Archie denied the title of prince, allegedly tied to security concerns, but historically, under established royal protocol, he was never entitled to that title at birth. So why frame it as a personal slight? Each contradiction on its own can be dismissed. Staged photos, PR polish, altered documents, administrative tweak, misunderstood protocol, palace confusion. But stack them together. A $500,000 fertility clinic transfer, an absent medical signature, a retroactively altered birth certificate, a misleading birth location, a public narrative clashing with centuries of protocol. It stops looking messy. It starts looking managed. According to the transcript, palace intelligence units, including former MI6 operatives, did not uncover links to criminal syndicates. They uncovered something they considered far more dangerous, a flaw in the lineage. A flaw. That word alone could trigger constitutional panic, because this isn't about reputation, it's about succession, bloodline, legitimacy. Prince William, according to the narrative, now holds a file described as a strategic existential threat, not a tabloid scandal, a detonator. On one side, his brother, Prince Harry, the man who walked away, who built a new life in California, who publicly declared independence from the crown. On the other, the institution, the contract between monarchy and people, an unbroken line stretching back centuries. If the children's lineage were ever formally challenged, it wouldn't just embarrass the Sussexes. It would ignite a constitutional firestorm. Was Harry aware? Was he complicit? Or was he, as the transcript chillingly suggests, the ultimate mark, a man manipulated into believing a narrative constructed around him? Inside Buckingham Palace, silence has reportedly replaced denial. Not defensive press briefings, not fiery rebuttals. Silence. The kind of silence reserved for triage rooms when doctors whisper about terminal diagnoses, because the world is distracted. Epstein headlines, political chaos, celebrity trials. But in the early hours, behind secured doors, pages are turning. Files are being re-examined, financial audits reviewed. And if this detonates, it won't just reframe Meghan's interviews or Netflix documentaries, it will reclassify every tier, every allegation, every claim of persecution. Was it victimhood or was it positioning? The transcript paints a terrifying picture, not a spontaneous deception, but a multi-layered production. Script, props, legal revisions, media orchestration, a billion-watt campaign to solidify legitimacy. If that theory holds weight, then the goal was never privacy. It was insertion, permanent insertion into a dynasty that has survived wars, abdications, assassinations, and scandals, but has never faced a direct lineage challenge from within. Prince William's choice, as described, is no longer personal. It's constitutional. Silence could mean complicity. Exposure could mean institutional self-destruction. And right now, the monarchy stands at a crossroads no sovereign has ever had to navigate. Is this the greatest deception in modern royal history, or is it a tragic series of misunderstandings weaponized by factions and fueled by online hysteria? That answer isn't whispered in tabloids, it's buried in ledgers, in medical records, in sealed files. And if those files ever go public, the fallout won't be gossip. It will be history. And here's where the story stops being rumor and starts feeling like reckoning. Because according to the narrative in that explosive transcript, this is no longer about Meghan Markle defending her image or Prince Harry defending his wife. It's about a monarchy defending its bloodstream. Inside those palace corridors, this isn't framed as scandal. It's framed as survival. The $500,000 transfer wasn't treated as gossip fodder. It was analyzed like a code fragment in a classified intelligence report. A transaction from an entity reportedly linked to Meghan's former financial network, traced to that discreet Mexican fertility center. Not discovered by bloggers. Not broken by tabloids. Flagged internally. And when palace cryptologists connect dots, they don't look for drama. They look for patterns. The pattern, as described, wasn't sloppy. It was precise. Because think about the layering. A staged first appearance at Windsor, immaculate lighting, controlled framing, symbolism embedded in posture and background. A birth certificate quietly amended weeks later. A confusing narrative about birth location that shifted under scrutiny. A public grievance about titles that contradicted established royal protocol. Individually, each detail is survivable. Together, they form what the transcript chillingly calls a constellation of obfuscation. And that word matters, because obfuscation isn't chaos, it's strategy. Now imagine Prince William sitting in a private study, that file in front of him. Not a brother reading headlines, a future king assessing risk. The transcript describes this moment not as emotional, but mathematical. On one side of the equation, Harry, his only brother. The boy who walked behind their mother's coffin beside him, the man who once shared his secrets, his grief, his rage. On the other side, the crown, the institution that is not a family business, but a constitutional mechanism, a symbol whose legitimacy rests on one fragile, ancient concept, bloodline. If even a shadow of doubt creeps into that line, the monarchy doesn't just suffer embarrassment. It faces existential questioning. Because what happens if lineage is legally challenged? What happens if Parliament is forced to investigate? What happens if medical verification becomes a constitutional demand? This isn't a Netflix scandal. This is a potential succession crisis. And then comes the most dangerous question of all, not about Meghan, but about Harry. Was he aware? The transcript leaves that hanging like a blade over a crown. Was he architect, participant, or pawn? Because if Harry believed the narrative completely, then he becomes tragic. If he knew and participated, then he becomes revolutionary. And if he was deceived, then he becomes collateral damage in a game far bigger than personal love. Meanwhile, outside palace walls, the public spectacle continues. Interviews, deals, speeches, carefully curated storytelling. But inside, silence. The transcript describes Buckingham Palace not as chaotic, but eerily quiet, like a triage unit assessing a patient whose vitals are unstable but not yet flatlined. The media churns with distractions, political storms, celebrity drama, declassified files about other elites. But this story, this one, simmers beneath the surface, because if the evidence solidifies, the fallout won't be theatrical. It will be procedural. Documents withheld, assets quietly frozen, legal reviews initiated without press leaks, a silent war. And in that war, there is no middle ground. The transcript makes that brutally clear. Silence becomes complicity. Exposure becomes institutional self-harm. Every choice is nuclear. If William chooses exposure, he risks detonating his own family in public view. If he chooses silence, he risks allowing a potential flaw in the lineage to calcify into permanence. And permanence is everything in monarchy. Because monarchies don't survive on popularity, they survive on continuity. Now imagine the long-term consequences. If proof ever emerged that the public narrative around the pregnancies was misrepresented, every prior grievance would be re-examined. Every claim of persecution, every emotional interview, every tear, not as vulnerability, but as maneuvering. The transcript paints this possibility in stark terms. A long game whose ultimate prize wasn't sympathy, wealth, or revenge, but irrevocable insertion into royal history. That's not petty ambition, that's dynastic ambition. And if that theory is false, if it collapses under scrutiny, then what we are witnessing is something equally disturbing. The weaponization of suspicion to fracture a family already split in two. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Once doubt enters the bloodstream of a monarchy, it doesn't leave easily. It lingers, it mutates, it infects public trust. And public trust is the monarchy's oxygen. The transcript ends not with certainty, but with a looming inevitability. Fragments will surface, a leaked memo, an anonymous source, a financial audit, each piece adding pressure. And eventually, pressure demands release. Will it reveal a breathtaking deception? Or will it expose palace factions turning suspicion into strategy? Right now, the world doesn't know. But somewhere in a secure room marked for royal eyes only, a file exists. A file that doesn't scream scandal, it whispers consequence. Prince William doesn't hold gossip, he holds a detonator. And if that detonator is ever triggered, the explosion won't just shake headlines. It will rewrite the modern history of the House of Windsor. Because this isn't just about Meghan Markle. It isn't just about Prince Harry. It's about whether the oldest surviving dynasty on earth can withstand doubt from within its own claimed bloodline. And until the truth, whatever it may be, is dragged fully into the light, that question will haunt every balcony appearance, every ceremonial wave, every carefully choreographed royal smile. This is no longer gossip. It's a constitutional cliffhanger. And the world is watching. The world is watching. The world is watching. The world is...